Hello, hey, welcome to Start with a K. I am sick, so that's why my voice sounds like this, but that will not stop me from making this video. It is October 31st, and you know what that means. It is time for another wrap-up. But anyway, yes, let's just get into it. I'll be talking about the books that I read in October. There are a lot more books than in September. I only read 4 books in September, and this month I read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, which is still not that much, but it's good for me. I felt accomplished with this number. So I'll be going chronologically to when I finish the books, and let's just get started. The first book that I read was My Name is Jason, Mine Too, which is by Jason Reynolds and Jason Griffin. You may recognize the name Jason Reynolds. He wrote a book called Long Way Down, which I actually read this summer, and I actually mentioned in my summer reading video, so you can check that out there if you'd like. And Jason Griffin is basically the person that does all the illustrations in Jason Reynolds' books. And they're like best friends. They actually at some point lived in New York together. I don't know if they actually still do, but yeah, this book is like, the best word I can use is experimental. Lots of drawings as well as like poems on it. Since there aren't that many words on the page, I was actually able to finish it in one day, October 1st. Doesn't that look so cool? That's Jason Reynolds in the picture, I think. But yeah, it was good. I took a few pictures, as you know, at least I took one picture. But it's cool. I said that already. It was just a nice quick read. I've been wanting to read it for a little bit, so I just got it from the library and I read it in like 40 minutes. The next book that I finished was Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep by Philip K. Dick. I finished this on October 2nd, and the other dates are kind of wonky. See, I started on August 22nd, and I read it until August 31st, and then it got returned to the library. And then I read it on September 24th, August 1st, and then October 2nd, and that's when I finished it. This book is actually, the Blade Runner movie series is based on this book, I should say. So if you're familiar with it, to give you kind of a high level, it is about a futuristic society where androids live among us, but they kind of look like regular humans. I've never watched the Blade Runner movie, so I don't really know what they're about like at all. If they're good adaptations or not, or accurate adaptations of this book. But yeah, it was interesting. I read it because it was recommended to me. It was kind of dull as well. I had high expectations, and they were not met. Like, the plot was interesting, but just like getting through it wasn't an enjoyable experience either. And the thing is, it's not even that long of a book. I thought I was going to be able to finish it like before the due date, but I wasn't. And then like I highlighted things, so like it wasn't horrible, but it just wasn't my cup of tea, I guess. The next book that I read was Don't Cry for Me by Daniel Black. This was also recommended to me. This was good. It's basically about a father on his deathbed writing a letter to his son. Which is interesting, right? I think it's interesting. He spends a lot of time talking about his past, like living, I guess parenting his son and him when he was a child as well. And I really like the dialogue of this book. It just like all the characters seem really like actual people, and I also really like this cover and the back of it. Looks pretty cool. Nice geometric, like it's simple, but like it works. I remember I got this from a 50% off sale at Barnes & Noble. Should I say if I recommend books? Sure. Okay, My Name is Jason, Mine Too. Not necessarily, but like not as well. Like, I don't not recommend it, but I don't recommend it, because that definitely makes sense. Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, I would not recommend. Don't Cry for Me, I'd consider recommending. Okay, the next book that I read see, I told you I was sick, was Why Do I Feel Like an Imposter by Dr. Sandy Mann. It's M-A-N-N. Maybe it's Man. I got this, as you can see, from Barnes & Noble as well. It was $5 and good old impulse purchase. Backpedal a little. Don't Cry for Me I read from October 2nd to October 5th, and this I read from October 5th to October 7th. The reason why I read these books so quickly is because I was on a 5-day weekend from school. But yeah, I read this book because I had it in my bookcase for a while, and I was like sitting around. I was like, I want to read, and I want to read a brand new book that I have possession of already instead of like getting something from the library. So that's what I did. It was an interesting read for sure, and I feel like it's a good book to recommend to people, so I would recommend this one. I learned not a lot, but like not a little either. I learned an amount. And out of all these books, I guess so far, it'd probably be the book that I would consider reading again. The next book that I finished was, I believe, Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. Leigh Bardugo is the author of the Grishaverse, which includes, in order, you're welcome, Shadow and Bone, Seed and Star, Ruin and Rising, I guess Language of Thorns, and then Six of Crows, Concrete Kingdom, King of Scars, Rule of Wolves. This is the series, one of the few series which I have all the books for, I'm pretty sure. I think I do, yes. They're behind me, I don't want to get them all out, you trust me, right? I guess I don't have Language of Thorns. And also thinking about it, I don't know if it was published like between the trilogy and then the duology, Six of Crows duology. But yeah, this is her adult novel debut. It definitely reads differently than the Grishaverse. I did not enjoy it as much as I do the Grishaverse because it's like, I guess, a bit more real life based. It follows somebody named Alex who goes to school at Yale, but there are ghosts there. They're called Greys. So like it's like a fantasy novel. Stephen King actually said it was like the best fantasy novels that he's read in a few years, which is like a high compliment. I understand it, like it wasn't bad for sure, but it just wasn't like interesting at all parts, or I just didn't understand it, or I didn't care enough to try to understand it. It also didn't help that I read it in like 2 different segments. I was listening to the audiobook. First, I started by listening only to the audiobook, and then I got the physical book and I listened along, and then I just took a break after the audiobook was returned, and then I just continued reading it again with the audiobook once I got the audiobook again. So I read it from August 26th to September 8th, and then October 4th to October 12th. So you see, there's literally like a month where I didn't read it. But surprisingly, I actually feel like I had a more enjoyable time when I was reading it from October 4th to October 12th. Like, more interesting things were happening. But yeah, I just didn't understand what was happening like 25% of the time. As in, another way of saying that is I knew what was happening like 75% of the time, which is not a good percentage. It's just like a really thick book, and they're long chapters, and yeah, I didn't roll with it, and that's okay. But like, I didn't not enjoy it either. But I wouldn't say that I recommend it. Next book that I finished was The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Now, this is the author of one of my favorite books from 2 years ago called The Seventh Song, and this is also an adult novel. When I prior had read only her young adult novels. The Seventh Song is the first one in the Monsters of Verity duology. The next one is Our Dark Duet, which we don't talk about. I think I have videos about both of them, actually, if you want to search the channel around for those. But this was good. The premise was really interesting to me. It's about a woman, a girl, a person that lives forever named Addie LaRue. I actually made a video about it, an entire video, so you can go check that out instead of listening to me talk about it more right now. Something I actually didn't touch on in the video that I made for The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue is, I guess, the controversy around it. I've heard that and I agree that it's very Eurocentric, like it doesn't talk about things that happened around the time that she was alive. If you catch my drift, it mentions war, like World War. I don't want to get cancelled. I guess both of them, maybe not. I have no idea. I can't remember the dates of different wars. I have other things to worry about. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. I would recommend it. It was an enjoyable read. The book that I enjoyed the most up to this point, I would say. Okay, moving right along, Black Buck by Matteo, I can't remember his last name. Matteo Ascaripor. It says, It's for fans of Sorry to Bother You and The Wolf on Wall Street. I haven't watched either of those movies. I searched them up, so that's how I know they're movies. But it does really seem like a movie, but it seems like a long movie. There were times when I was like, when is this going to end? There were like lots of plot twists that I was like, do we really need this? And also, it was sexist. So I didn't really enjoy my time reading this. There were also like racial things happening, which were like questionable. I don't want to say racist, but like it's like a satire, which doesn't excuse racism, like obviously, but like I don't want to say anything. I can't say anything without spoiling it. There's also a character with Tourette's who I felt kind of one-dimensional. His personality was that he had Tourette's, and I guess he kind of worshipped like the the main character, who I also don't like. I don't not like the dude with Tourette's. Yeah, the main character's annoying. Anyway, going back on track, basically every single line, if not every single other line that the person with Tourette's said, I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, but I also can't remember the name of the main character. He would just scream out an expletive and then apologize for it. It just seems like, was that necessary? Like, I'm all for diversity, but like, is it an accurate depiction, I think, is the first thing to consider. So, yeah. I don't know, but I don't think so. Yeah, I think that is my least favorite book that I read this month. Stay watching this video in order to see me rank all the books I read this month. The next book that I read was Sway, which was written by Cat Spears. I read this from October 20th to October 23rd. I read Black Buck from October 12th to October 20th, and I read The Invisible Life of Addie through October 9th, the 12th, and then the 15th through 20th. All of these books, I feel like I read for longer than I actually read them. Going back to Sway, have you heard of Disney Channel? Yes, great. Have you heard of 2009? Yes, great. Then you probably heard of Let It Shine, the Disney Channel original movie, which was basically based on a book called Cyrano. It's a play, really. Maybe that's why I said book, because I was trying to say play and then also book. It's based on a play called Cyrano de Bergerac. I'm not really that familiar with the play, but this book takes that exact same play. This main character as well is kind of like just annoying. I do not like him. He's irritating. My favorite thing about this book is how short the chapters were, honestly. It seemed like very typical of a story. Maybe because I watched that story. This basically is in the story and Let It Shine, but like, yeah, it just wasn't. It was not it. It was not it. Looking back, I'm sorry. I feel like I meant to say that this book was sexist and not Black Book. I'm sorry. So Black Book is only racist, but this. I'm kidding. Am I? I don't know. Black Book was kind of like maybe. Okay, sorry. I rephrase. Black Book had some scenes which were kind of uncomfy and like inappropriate, for me at least, that I just wasn't expecting to see. And also just the character with Tourette's was kind of side-eye, and some of the sentences related to race were also kind of side-eye. But this was sexist. Sway was sexist. Like, it did not need to be that. It did not need to be that. Nothing ever needs to be that. But yeah, a lot of that is due to just the main character's personality. So that's why I didn't like him. He's really, yeah, I said it already. He's irritating. I would not like to have him as a friend. He's just like, did I like Sway or Black Book better? I think I like Black Book better. I'd say. Would I? I'm not sure. Yeah, I would. Both of these books I feel like are very like roller coastery. Like something happens, oh no, and then like it's resolved, like it seems so quickly. Black Book I had more of an enjoyable time reading, I'd say. Yeah. It may have to do with the main character being black in that one and Sway being very not diverse. Next book that I read, do I have a copy? I actually returned it earlier today, or yesterday. It's Know My Name by Chanel Miller. I read it from October 23rd to October 29th. I listened to the audiobook while reading the book. You might recognize her name. She was Emily Doe in the Stanford sexual assault case several years back. I don't think it's a few now. And it's just telling her story. I was told that it was very good, and I was not disappointed. It's so narrative based that like there are a few times when I forgot this all actually happened. Like, she's such a great storyteller. What's also interesting about this book is that it doesn't use quotation marks like dialogue. Like you know what I'm talking about, quotation marks, that's the name. She just italicizes, which was kind of annoying at first, I'm being honest, but it was fine when I got used to it, I guess. Hearing all that she went through was not easy. I would recommend this book for sure. I would not recommend Sway, would not recommend Black Book. Honestly, I just feel like you should read it if you think you can handle it. Definitely heavy trigger warnings for like sexual assaults. Oh no, I forgot a book, I'm sorry. The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, which is by Mark Haddon. I read that October 7th, 9th, a date in between 9th and the date after, which I'm about to say, and the 25th. I read this through school because it's part of the book club. It's one of the books that we're reading through the book club that I lead with two other people in my school. I read this book before. I actually have a review about it, which is kind of funny. I don't think I ever mentioned that I wrote a review while we were reading it in the book club. But yeah, I liked it even less. I did not really like it the first time. I feel like I liked the beginning of it, but there's basically like a sequence, which I talk about in the video if you want to hear about it, which was boring, and then after that point my interest just kept going down and down and down. Also, I found out this time reading it that the author of it did barely any research when it came to people on the spectrum before writing this book, and it's like heavily alluded to that the main character is somewhere on the spectrum, so that's also kind of weird. It was also later adapted into a play, a Broadway play that went on to win Best Play as well as Best Actor as well as Best Scenic Design, as well as a couple of others that I guess I'll put on the screen right now. And I'm telling you all this because, as to my knowledge, the person that played Christopher, who's the main character's name in the play, is not on the spectrum, but he's playing a person on the spectrum. And I could literally, if I'm being honest, make an entire video about what lines actors should cross when it comes to playing characters without like offending people, or like when they're not part of the community that they're representing in the role they play. I have some thoughts about it, but I'm not sharing those thoughts right now. I know a lot of people like this book, but I don't see why. That's kind of blunt, but okay. And then the final book that I read this month was Diary of a Wimpy Kid by Jeff Kennedy, the first one in the series. I read it on October 28th. I really like this book. I really like this book. I read it before, obviously. Who hasn't read Diary of a Wimpy Kid? I actually found out recently that it was released in like 2008, I'm pretty sure, which is so weird because I was literally 2 then. But yeah, it's iconic. I can't think of a better word. And I actually am making a video about it, which I'm really excited about, where I'll be reading every single Diary of a Wimpy Kid thing out there. I'll be reading the books, and I'll be watching the movies, all in preparation of the most recent book coming out. I don't even know the date of it, but yeah. I made a rule to myself that I'm going to take little to no notes while reading it, because I'm just reading it for fun. I'm also making a video, but like I don't want to be thinking too much about the video while reading it. It's just like a low-key comfort read, I guess you could say. I have a video about it, so I guess I don't want to share my thoughts right now. I'll share that video. It's probably going to be like really, really long, like an hour or something. I'm literally reading like 16 books. But yeah, those are all the books that I read in October. I'm so excited, and I really hope I keep with the trend of reading so many books. I mean, 10 isn't that much, but it's a lot for me. I am reading 2 books right now currently, not including Babel by R.F. Kuang, which I've read since, like, I can't remember when I started it, but I keep going like on and off in that book. I haven't read that book like since the summer, but I'm not DNFing it. Yeah, I'm reading 2 other books right now, which I don't want to disclose at this moment, but yeah, it's going well. I've been really happy with the books I've been reading for the most part recently, so that's cool. I'm going away to college, and I am not going to be able to bring all these books with me, so I need to read as much as possible before I graduate. So yeah, thanks for coming along on this journey with me. Thank you so much. We have 381 subscribers. It has not gone up in a little bit, which has kind of been a bummer for me, but it's okay. 179,343 views, almost to 180,000, which is so really weird to think about. Thank you for watching. Thanks for tolerating my sickish voice. I hope I'm coherent. I hope you can actually hear me. It'd be bad if you couldn't.